What's up, YouTube? It's the one and only legend of winning, aka Low, and I'm back with another episode of the NBA preview. Now, for those out there who missed the last episode, as always, there will be an annotation in the top right hand corner, links in the description, and at the end of the video, not only will I have an annotation to the last episode, but I will also have an annotation to the playlist so you can binge watch all of the NBA preview episodes and catch up. But in today's video, we're going to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies and the unfortunate, ugly truth about this organization. It is sad to say that this organization feels like it's not even moving in a direction. They're plateauing, they're lost, they're stuck, and to see some great talented players that have come in and out of their locker room and to see how it's transitioned to where it's at right now is extremely unfortunate. But to be a little bit more optimistic, over the last couple of seasons, the Memphis Grizzlies have consistently been a playoff team in a tough Western Conference, and last year they've seen some upgrades with some of their star talents. Marc Gasol, even though he is 32 years of age, decided to add that three-point shot to his game, so kudos to him. And then Mike Conley is coming off his best season throughout his entire career, so that's also pretty promising. But probably the biggest news, if you are a Memphis Grizzly fan, is that Chandler Parsons, he looks a little bit healthy over the past couple of months, which then leads us to our summer of social media for our clip of the day.
Chandler.
Yeah, there you go. You see, there go Chandler right there. I see you, Chandler. You working out, Chandler. I see you, Chandler, getting your workout in and stuff like that. He's working with Steve Nash and everybody. I see you, Chandler. Now, for people out there who don't know, Chandler Parsons is small forward, 6'9", has a lot of promise. However, can't really see that promise if he's not on the floor. He's been dealing with injuries over the last couple of seasons, especially back in his Dallas days. However, for whatever reason, and I just don't know why, he still gets opportunities and signs these ridiculous contracts that are really just head scratchers. I'm just confused to why people keep giving him opportunity. But with that being said, a little bit of optimistic here. You could turn things around a little bit, and I would make an argument that if he can stay healthy, which it does seem like he will be able to be a little bit more healthy than he was last year. If he can stay healthy, play around 60-some games, give around 15 points, possibly, I don't really know, but if he stays healthy, I definitely can see this team making the playoffs, and I would make an argument that if he is healthy, along with Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, this team might actually have a better argument to make the playoffs than the Denver Nuggets or even the Pelicans. But with that being said, let's transition to our contracts and our depth charts, and you'll get a better understanding of why I believe that. So real quick with our contracts, the Memphis Grizzlies brought back JaMychal Green, Mario Chalmers, then they also added Tyreke Evans, and shout out to my man Ben McLemore. I honestly think that Ben McLemore is a solid player, but when you get stuck in Sacramento, it's kind of hard to provide any evidence that you are a good player, so it is what it is. Then when it comes to overpaid players, yeah, Chandler Parsons, $23.1 million, had to point it out. Even if he does stay healthy, and that's a huge if, but even if he does stay healthy, his productivity doesn't match the amount of money that he's getting paid, so he's still overpaid. And also for the people out there who are going to point out Mike Conley, I thought about it, but he's the face of the franchise, so it is what it is. Then when it comes to our expiring contracts, I know for a fact some of my Grizzly fans, they can't wait to see Chandler Parsons' name down there, but unfortunately it's not. And for the most part, there's no real big contracts that will be expiring. I am concerned about Brandon Wright, and then hopefully Tyreke Evans may be able to land another contract with his team if he plays well. But again, nothing really too major when it comes to expired contracts. Now moving on to the depth chart itself, we have Mike Conley at the point, at 2 Ben McLemore, 3 we got Chandler Parsons, then JaMychal Green, and then Marc Gasol rounding it up. Then moving on to our bench, we have Mario Chalmers, Tyreke Evans, Ennis, Martin, and Brandon Wright. Now when it comes to Ennis, I hope that he's able to, give us a little bit more productivity. I think James Ennis could definitely be out there with some of the starters, and especially when they play that small ball lineup, move Chandler Parsons down to the 4. Again, if everybody is healthy, but it is what it is. But for the most part, I honestly don't think this team is as bad as I think a lot of people are expecting them to be. But again, it's always huge ifs with Chandler Parsons. But if Chandler Parsons is healthy, he can play both the 3 and the 4. You have better spacing now with Marc Gasol knocking down threes. And then you have some pretty solid bench players coming in the rotation, such as Mario Chalmers and Tyreke Evans, if they can find their footing, and also if they can stay healthy as well. I definitely believe that they have a pretty good 8-man rotation. Shout out to my man Zebo, because it is sad to see that he's not on this team no more, because I definitely feel like, especially with some of those front court players, he could have provided them with a little bit more experience coming out that bench. But for the most part, this is a solid team, and if you still don't believe me, Shout out to my man Mike Conley, because I believe he may be able to take the next step this next upcoming season, which is why he is our spotlight player of the day. Mike Conley is a 6'1" point guard who spent his entire career playing with the Memphis Grizzlies, and he's been in the NBA for 10 years. So shout out to my man Mike Conley, a 10-year vet, and last year is coming off his best season yet. Finally was able to crack over 20 points last year, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, a steal, and he's a very efficient player. Field goal percentage over 45%, shot 40% from behind the arc, and he knocks down his free throws. And let's also not forget that when it comes on the defensive end, even though last year it does seem like he kind of slid a little bit, but that's expected when you pick up a larger scoring role, but he's still one of the better defensive point guards in the NBA, so gotta put some respect on his name. But last year in the postseason, which I think a lot of people overlooked, he had by far the best performance of his entire career. And I know, I get it. It was only one round, I understand that, but he still aided the process of pushing a team that eventually went to the conference finals and was up big against the Golden State Warriors to a 6-game series that was extremely interesting. Mike Conley against the San Antonio Spurs in the first round averaged almost 25 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, and again, shooting splits that were remarkable. 48.5% from the field, almost 45% from behind the arc, and almost 95% from the free throw line. So again, really impressive. Now the reason why I'm pointing this out is because, quite honestly, I feel as if Mike Conley, he has the ability to do that almost on a night-to-night basis. I'm not saying he's going to be like this 25-point scorer, but I definitely believe, especially in a league where point guards are so dominant, that Mike Conley's name goes underneath the radar a little bit too often, especially because he doesn't put up the great scoring numbers. However, if Mike Conley can just turn it up a little bit, be a 23-point scorer, a go-to guy for this team, and aid them in this process, I honestly believe that it will definitely make this team a lot more interesting than I think a lot of people are expecting. And hopefully everything can turn around and this team could still be in a conversation to be in the playoffs. And again, I know a lot of people are going to be like, who cares if they're going to be in the playoffs? Who cares? They're still going to lose. Newsflash, everyone is going to lose outside of the Golden State Warriors. So I just think this is an organization that will take the good with the bad. And if that means not being able to make deep playoff runs but still being a consistent team in a tough Western Conference, I think they'll applaud that, especially because, again, this is a new franchise. But with that being said, I think that actually kind of brings us full circle to the biggest problem with this organization moving forward. And it is sad, and unfortunately I'm going to be a little bit depressing when it comes to our Twitter question of the day, but hear me out, people. Shout out to my man Jace the Greatest. He asks, do you a Memphis rebuild? What? Does a Memphis rebuild will? Are you saying does a Memphis? Do you a Memphis? What is this? Oh, do you think a Memphis rebuild will start after this season? And what do you think? And what do you think will happen to Mike Conley? What do you think will happen to Mike Conley if they don't make the playoffs? Hey, yo, Jason Great. Make sure you, I'm not even gonna get on you because I mess up my tweets all the time, so never mind. Now, the reason why I picked this question is because it tackles 2 issues with this organization. The potential rebuild that this team is going to have to undergo while still being the argument of possibly making the playoffs. And for the most part, that is the reason why this team is in the worst possible situation in the NBA. This team is good enough to make the playoffs, at least in my opinion. However, they're still too good to be tanking. And so when people talk about making the playoffs, in my honest opinion, the truth is no one's not going to join that team. And it is unfortunate because I personally feel as if players such as Paul George, Kevin Durant, if they join that organization, a team that is proven every single year that they can compete in the Western Conference, even without a top tier scorer, they're still one of the very great teams and you cannot sleep on them. But they're in a small market. And even though, yes, they have 2 stars on their roster, neither one of those stars are top 10, top 15 talented players, so it's going to be hard to convince anyone to join. But then on the other hand, when it comes to rebuilding, and this is where it's terrible, they've already spent and committed way too much money on Mike Conley and Marc Gasol for them to just be like, we're going to rebuild. It's done. And it is unfortunate that they went in that direction. But the thing that makes things even worse, and this is what I assumed that they were going to do. So I'm a realist. I understand what's going on. I get the politics of the NBA. And, Memphis, a young team, been around for about 20 years now. They've been trying to find an identity and their footing in the NBA. And I thought that they found it. Mike Conley, Marc Gasol, and Zach Randolph. So I assume that Zach Randolph was going to retire with the team. After Zach Randolph, then you have Marc Gasol. Then after Marc Gasol, you have Mike Conley. And then once everybody retire, we're going to hang everybody's jersey up in the rafters and, you know, come together and be like, this is what we did. We didn't win a championship or nothing like that. But this is by far the winningest era in franchise history. That's what I assumed they were going to do. Give your fans something to be proud about and cheer for the next 2 to 3 years. And again, I get it. You know, they ain't going to win no championship, but Reggie Miller wasn't going to win no championship either. And the Indiana Pacers didn't out of nowhere say, I guess we got to rebuild. The Clippers, they ain't winning no championship either. But no one's not going to be like, we got to get rid of Blake Griffin and DeAndre, because the reality is that is now their identity. That's who the organization is. But I still felt as if keeping Z-Bo made sense moving forward, hoping that Chandler Parsons stayed healthy, and they might have still been able to compete in the Western Conference. I mean, they took the San Antonio Spurs to a good 6 games, really close, and Chandler Parsons wasn't even there. They were giving Vince Carter minutes, but I don't know what direction they're heading into, but I know for a fact that they're stagnant. I know for a fact that more than likely they're not going to rebuild. And I know for a fact, and this is just the unfortunate truth about the NBA, that they're not good enough to attract any free agents to their team. Well, all that being said though, people, let me know what you think about the Memphis Grizzlies in the comment section below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, notification bell, thumbs up, and you tell me, what do you think the next direction for the Memphis Grizzlies should be moving forward? Always remember though that, you know, Mike Conley and Marc Gasol receiving a pretty hefty paycheck, so remember that. But with all that being said, people, I will see you all later. Peace.